The restaurant industry requires listening. We are bringing back another re-listen of some of our top...
Waiter! There's a fly in my soup.
That's not... Well, it is part of what they talk about. Sure. They talk about the customer experience, but that's also the front of the house, the back of the house, how listening is incorporated. This is our guests on this episode were Lauren and Blake Schar. They own a couple different restaurants. Update from that episode, which was back on May 16th of 2024, so over 2 years ago. Update from them. They've now expanded to a third restaurant, continue to grow, continue to do amazing things, and I can't imagine that they abandoned the entire thing of listening to continue to grow and expand the restaurants. I'd imagine that they're doubling down on it. This episode resonated with a ton of folks. It had a lot of great content. We wanted to bring it back to our listeners today and see if it still sticks, and I think it's going to.
I think it will. Let's do it.
Cool. The restaurant industry. Brant, today we have a podcast. We're going to talk about the restaurant industry. And I have two very special guests to join us, a husband-wife team, Lauren and Blake.
I am Lauren Schar.
And I'm Blake Schar.
I handle most things having to do with the front of the house and HR.
And I handle everything to do with the back. Recipes, the cooking, the staffing.
And they've been in the restaurant business for, Blake has for the majority of his life.
Blake is a French-trained chef.
I started cooking when I was 16 in a small bar and just kind of grew from there.
And then Lauren was a teacher.
I am an educator, so I've always worked in the restaurant world to make ends meet.
And then they opened up their own restaurant together maybe 10 years ago or so.
We have owned our own restaurant now for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And just a fascinating way to do it. So I figured we could bring in a couple of experts to talk to us and to talk to our listener about what is listening when it comes to the restaurant.
Fascinating. So many different things we could talk about with them. I look forward to meeting them.
So many different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good people. I think we're going to aim for breaking this down in kind of three categories. We're going to talk about the front of the house, as they say.
Yep.
The servers and the bussers and the hostess and those types of things.
Yeah, the dining
and then
experience.
And then the clearly obvious back of the house, which would be the chef and the kitchen and all those things. And then the customer. And what does that look like? That third component of all of this. So we're going to break that down a little bit.
I'm already hungry. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Are you hungry for more, Brant?
I'm hungry for more. I can hear the fajitas sizzling from here.
Ooh, me too. All right, well, let's start it right now.
From conversations to the natural world to complete silence, so many of us focus on what's next rather than what is happening now. I'm Listening is a podcast that dissects the importance of listening.
I'm Drew Richmond.
And I'm Brant Christofferson.
And this is I'm Listening, a podcast simply about the skill of listening.
I started cooking when I was 16 in a small bar and just kind of grew from there. Went to Michigan State for criminal justice, started running my first kitchen and fell in love with it, man. I felt like I never had to grow up. And I went on to culinary school, was French trained. And throughout the years, I've run multiple kitchens, multiple restaurants. I've done it for other people. And 10 years ago, we were able to do it for ourselves this time. So that's what we've been doing the last 10 years. And I think we've been pretty successful.
That's one of our questions is the ownership of your own restaurant versus working for somebody else. What changed? What's the difference besides the obvious, the financial pieces and all of that? But what's in terms of the philosophy, in terms of all of that, what changed with you all as you went from working for other restaurants or other owners to owning your own restaurant?
I'm not sure there was much of a change for me, honestly. I mean, as I came up through the years, like the first restaurant I worked at was for my best friend's mom. And, I was one of her kids, so I felt ownership in that restaurant. And every job I've taken since then, I've treated as if I've owned it. The more money I can make the business or save the business, the more money I would make in the end, or the perks that I would get. So for me, going from the employee to the owner wasn't much of a change, except for now you're dealing with more of the accounting aspects and all that sort of stuff. So for me, I think, and the reason I've been successful in my realm is because I always took ownership, whether I owned it or not. And I think as the owner now, I'm looking for people who do the same thing I did when I was younger.
So it sounds like ownership has always been more of a state of mind than it has as anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we've got these 2 restaurants, and every time I think about it, I'm looking for that kid as I get older, or that young person who has that ownership, wants to own a restaurant, wants to be the big dog at some point. And that's who I'm looking for to kind of groom, or whatever you want to say, so that he can get to where I am at some point, or she.
I know I work with different companies of different sizes all over the place. And that skill set of ownership, that skill set of just owning things or having accountability seems to be harder and harder to come by. Are you running into that kind of thing as well?
Yes, I think we are. Yeah. I think, things have happened throughout the world and in the last few years to where even I a little bit am deciding, rather than chase after that almighty dollar or, status, that kind of thing, I want to hang out with my family as well a little bit more. We've come to realize family, I mean, you've always known that family is more important, but family is becoming more important than, say, your checking account or that kind of thing. So for us, or for me especially, I mean, for me, it was always, I got to provide for my family. I've got to make sure they have money, that sort of thing. And now I'm realizing, as they're all teenagers and in high school, maybe I want to hang out with them a little bit more before I miss those opportunities.
The definition of success has changed significantly.
Yes, I guess that's a perfect way of saying it.
It's changed for you guys. I think it's changed for a lot of us too. Like I'm working from home, Drew's working from home, and a lot of that priorities shifted since COVID happened for a lot of us. Are you seeing that also for your employees as well?
Yeah, I think that from my perspective in the front of the house, the people that I love to have on the team are the ones who generally need the connection with the employee. They need the social. I need the social aspect. I would not do well working in an office at home. I have to move around. I have to connect with people. I have to solve problems. Those are the things that give me energy and bring me joy.
And for me, it's the creativity of the menu, the creativity of how we're going to feed, 400, 500 people a night. It's organized chaos in a restaurant. It always has been. It always will be. So it's making that organized chaos comfortable for our staff, for us to gel as a team. Every time we hire somebody, Lauren always says, you're becoming part of the family as opposed to just an employee.
And for us, that is literally true because we live on site. We work side by side with everyone that works with us. They don't work for us. They work with us. And Blake's in the kitchen all the time. I'm out front. If we have a catering event or some special event, in addition to the restaurant operations, one of us is always there with a team. So they're literally working with us every moment of every single day. Our kids are coming in and out. They're working alongside them. So that part is, I think, one of the ways that we've redefined success, and one of the ways that I think we have an restaurant culture, because, we don't have the high temperatures or the high tempers that you see on TV, and we don't have the language that you see on TV because our kids have been around since they were in diapers. And so it's always been a really good check yourself point.
It reminds me of growing up as a kid in northern Wisconsin in a small town. We lived at our business, family-owned business, and so did everyone else, right? They lived in the back of their shop or their restaurant or their bar, and your work and your life were very well intermingled. You also see less and less of that today, but I think there's some values in how you treat your employees or how you run your business when you're bringing in employees saying they're part of the family. Like that is that's a good feeling for you, but also for them being like, I'm part of something. You work with me, not for me. That's got to feel great for them too, I'd imagine.
I hope so. I mean, I don't ask anybody to do anything that I don't do every single day. There's 13 toilets. Yeah. I'm cleaning them. You're cleaning one. Yep. We're all doing dishes. I think that's one of the things about owning your own place is every single job has equal levels of importance, from the clean dishes to the service at the table. Every person on the team has the same level of importance because we all have the end goal that is the same, which is give the customer more than they expect and do it cheerfully. We try to treat each other that way as well and find each other's strengths and utilize each other's strengths because we all have weaknesses. But if I can find somebody whose strength makes up for my weakness.
I think when I was young and saw, the owner of the bar sitting at the end of the bar having a cocktail and relaxing, and it seemed like he's not doing anything, and what are we doing? We're doing all the work. That changed when you become the owner because, I'm doing the dishes, I'm taking out the trash, I'm still mopping, working with these people together in unison to create this special event for these people, the customers that come in, that we are glad to have, proud to have. One of my things for my staff is to be glad when they're out in public that you work at this restaurant. Oh, that's awesome. We hear about really great things about that restaurant and that sort of stuff. So for me, that's a pride factor for my staff to be able to walk out, say, yes, I do work here. And people are generally excited about that for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your actions speak louder than your words, right? In those senses, you need to be that role model, and hopefully they can do that too. What are some other things you look at or you want to make sure you instill in your staff or that you have in your staff so they are creating that feeling for the restaurant?
I think a big one to look at for the front of the house that, I'm in the back of the house so seeing is, we found ways of, we never say no to the customer.
Literally.
There are things that we can't do for the customer, special requests, certain things that we can't do, but somehow Lauren and our staff find a way not to say the word no and get around it and find a way to make something work for that person.
My background was in early childhood education, and my favorite students were the toughest students. And I found that the word no just caused angst and frustration. And so as opposed to using the word at all, we try very hard to give the customer two appropriate and hopefully equal choices to get to that same result. For instance, if somebody says, could I please have that without onion? We just don't use the word no. I explained to the customer there's some things in a near scratch kitchen that have already been through the first stage of the cooking process. I can't take the onions out of that. So is this an allergy or a dietary preference? Because we can ask the kitchen not to add any more onion, but I just want you to understand that I can't undo that first step of the cooking process. It seems to create an interaction that actually there's a solution to, as opposed to a fight of, no, well, this is what I want. And there's just no benefit in right or wrong in customer service. We just simply try to show the customer how, in the situation with the customer, how we can get to the same place, maybe through a different route.
So let me ask a question with that's tied into it. So I hear that interaction, and I hear there's listening that's occurring in that sense. When you talk to your staff and when you train them, how much does listening play a part, and what skills are you emphasizing with them to create? Because it's not just you, right? You're training other people to have that interaction with that customer. That's very specific. That's a differentiating factor, as we would say in my business, of what sets you apart from other restaurants. What are those listening skills, and how do you train them in that specific example?
In that specific example, it's very important to find out if this ingredient is going to harm the customer and make them sick for the rest of their vacation, or if it's just a preference. So the first step in the listening is maybe a couple of directional questions. We try really hard to make sure that the employee and the front of the house employee understands the importance of that. With an allergy, we can ruin somebody's weekend, and we don't want to do that. Even if somebody chooses to eat gluten-free. So, just as an example, there's people who choose that because they have to choose that, or they'll be sick for a couple of days if they veer off, or people who just feel a little bit better and they choose that as a lifestyle. It doesn't matter which instance it is. The server needs to know so that we can provide them with the best possible experience and make sure that they feel valued and want to come back. We want every single customer to walk away going, whoa, that was the best quality experience. I've never been treated better than that. And it wasn't the most expensive meal of my life. We want them pleasantly surprised with every single interaction that they have.
But I think a big point, like in the front of the house, when Lauren's addressing the customers, she's positive. She listens to what they're saying. So as in the training, the servers see that. And then until they're comfortable, they're just replicating what Lauren's saying. And then we give them the freedom as they get comfortable to kind of do their own spiel or their own intro kind of thing. But I think by seeing us do it, they tend to do it. If we were negative, they would be negative. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of an ongoing, as more and more staff come, they notice the positivity that's here to where it keeps going. It's the ebb and flow is there of positivity.
I think that one of the things that they recognize with working alongside of us is that in an ideal world, Blake and I would be able to make a living and be with our kids by serving, 75 people a night. I would wait on every single one and Blake would prepare every dish from start to finish. But that's not reality. I always tell people during the training that when they look good, we look good. So it's my job as a manager to make sure that they have every single tool that they need to succeed. Because at the end of the day, I can't wait on everybody. He can't cook every single aspect. So they're sort of our arms and our legs and our mouths. They're the bridge between us doing it all ourselves and the customer. We talk all the time. I mean, Blake does a pre-shift every single night, 15 to 25 minutes before we open, where if he's doing something that's not on the menu, a new feature or something like that, or if he's maybe going to show the front of the house a new item, they taste it. They get to ask him questions about how it's being prepared so that they don't have to make things up on the fly. They're more knowledgeable. Every single piece of knowledge that we can give them and make them more comfortable makes them more successful. And in the end, makes us look good.
You guys get feedback. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has all these things. You should do this, and why don't you do this? Why do that? And in the realm of feedback, what are some of the tips? What are some of the tricks that either the staff that you train or that you guys implement so that they don't feel disrespected, but you're not going to implement every idea that somebody has?
You know what you should do is a line we hear multiple times a day. You know what you should do? You should have a fish boil. You know what you should do? You should have cherry pie. You know what you should do? You should fill in the blank, whatever. It doesn't matter. We are very, very, very lucky to live in an area where I know all the other business owners, not all of them, but I know a lot of the other business owners. The food game in our area has really elevated in the last 10 years. I'm able to say with confidence, we don't do a fish boil because our neighbors do that, and they do it really, really well. My husband's Cajun, and this is his passion. And so he chooses to do this because it fills him, and we hope you enjoy it. If you want the name of a place where you can go to have a spectacular fish boil, I'm happy to share that information with you. But we don't do a fish boil because that's not my husband's passion. It would be like walking into a gallery someplace and say, you should paint more flowers or trees, to somebody who doesn't do that. They work in a different media or whatever. Food is the media that Blake works in. I can stand behind that very easily without confrontation with the customer and say, we want you to have the best dining experience. Let me help you find something on the menu that's going to impress you. And then tomorrow night, we're going to send you over to our friends in Ephraim. They do a killer fish boil, and let me know. Send me an email and let me know what you think.
And all the ideas or the thoughts or the comments from the customer that come in, they're not necessarily bad. It's one's quality control. If someone tells me that the jambalaya is a little salty or a little too spicy or not spicy enough, I'll go back to the kitchen and I'll check with that cook and take a bite of the next one they make. And maybe the customer's right. I had a gentleman 10 years ago tell me if we're going to do a fish fry because everybody was doing cod and such, what about pollock? And so we tried it, and we still serve pollock today. So, the customer isn't wrong, so we try and take that feedback and work with it in a positive way. And yeah, some of the ideas we don't use, some of them we do. And we're using, like the pollock 10 years later still. They have a valid point. We try to take it into consideration.
Sometimes it'll happen between staff members too, where, maybe I just have to redirect the conversation a little bit and point out, somebody comes to me and says, Rhonda didn't do X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, Rhonda did A, B, and C. We don't have to do A, B, and C now. So let's go, together or find a partner and we'll do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes it's just a matter of rephrasing and redirecting a little bit, I think, which I'm good at because I was great with 3-year-olds.
There's a lot of similarities there.
Where does listening play a part in that first impression when you guys talk to your staff and do that sort of thing the second they walk in the door? Or when do you guys think about that first impression? And then is there anything different with a person that's there 2 to 3 times a week or whatever your regular status is, and how listening works with those two different individuals?
I mean, the hope is that when the staff comes in for the day, they feel welcome, they feel happy to be there. And if we can control that to a certain extent, they're happier when they're tableside. So when the customer walks in, we want every single customer to feel like they're walking into our family room. We want every single customer to feel welcome. Some of us have had those experiences where we walk in and we feel to a business. It doesn't have to be a restaurant. It can be any business. And you're sort of like, am I supposed to be here? Did I do something wrong? Did I come in the wrong door or whatever? We want to make sure that it doesn't matter if it's first thing in the morning for breakfast or lunch or dinner. The moment the person opens the door, or maybe we see them through the glass, we want to make sure that they see the smile on our face and see the welcome on our face. You know, even if we're working with another customer, we have a line out the door. We are so incredibly lucky at breakfast. We have a line out the door in our breakfast restaurant. But that doesn't mean that customers 6, 7, and 8 in line don't feel recognized. You know, you can do a lot with eyes and a smile and the interaction with the customers that's right in front of you that make all the rest of the other customers who are in line feel like they're doing it right and they're welcome to be there and we're grateful for them to be here. People don't have to walk into our Cajun-inspired restaurant and go on this journey with us. We realize that we are not
cookie cutter.
Yeah, we're not the cookie cutter, plain Jane, Northern Wisconsin fare. And when people choose to go on that ride with us, we're super grateful. The employees that do it with us, that's my hope, is that they realize that we're grateful that they're on that ride with us. If they genuinely feel welcome here, like they have all the tools to succeed, then the hope is that that energy just goes right between them and their customer.
What about the returning customer? Is there anything different?
I mean, we are very lucky that we could almost tell what day of the week it is by the customers that walk in the door. We have customers that we know, must be Friday, because here they are. You know, we know them by name. So there's a little bit of maybe they recognize everybody on the inside just as much as we recognize that they're coming through the door.
I think it's the age old, remember the TV show Cheers? Everybody knows your name, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Brant, you and I talked about that.
Yeah,
Brant and I were we were setting up these questions. He's like, it's Norm.
Yeah,
like, hey Norm, like when you walk in and we talked about it in the realm of a bartender, or you know, it's like you walk in the door and your drink is sitting on the bar before you even sit down. Is that important? It is to the customer. Well, it's got to be important to the restaurant too, because they want people to come back and do that sort of thing. But then we're like, well, where does listening come together in that realm of my drink is sitting on the bar waiting for me? Is that just a money transaction? No, it's more than that. It's a familiar face. It's the conversation. It's the how are you doing? It's the genuine component of it all that really does come together with it.
We have customers that come in all the time and they want to know where the kids are. Maybe they're just seasonal regulars. They want to see the kids. They want to see how much they've grown. They want to know, how's Jake like in college? What's going on with the girls? That is appreciated by us. And it's just natural. It's just a very easy, and you get to know the customers, you know about their families. We get the opportunity to watch our customers' families grow and change generation to generation to generation. It's really cool.
The second year we were open, couple came in, sat at the bar. Lauren was gone for the night. I don't remember where she was, but she was gone. And I said, you know, can I get you a cocktail? Can I get you something to drink? Is Lauren around? And I said, no, she's not here tonight. And they said, okay, we'll come back. We just got into town. We just want to stop in and say hello. And I jokingly was like, do I smell? Like, what happened? And they're like, no, we just wanted to catch up with Lauren. So people get to know the bartenders or the staff that are here. You know, customers make reservations and they request servers. So I don't think they see them as this order taker / go get my food thing. It's more of a relationship that they build with these people. And I think that comes from the server listening to them the first time they met, or, you know, just building that relationship by listening to their problems and then probably sharing some of their own problems.
listening has got to play a part in the back of the house. There's so many things going on. There's so many variables, all these X factors, all these things constantly, every second, all blah, 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 blah. How much does listening play a part, and how do you ensure it's happened? How do you transfer information in an environment that is so chaotic and that you can't make a mistake?
You know, for someone who has not been in that scenario, to walk into a kitchen, it looks like chaos. People are yelling. Things are being thrown around. There's pans, the dishwashers, you know, constantly running. It's the chef leading his troops, or whatever you want to call it, and just making sure they're on top of what they're doing. They know what they need. They know the special request. If there is not noise in the kitchen, something is wrong. Like there has to be that noise. So in one ear, you know, you're listening to the guy on your right, the other ear you're listening to the guy on the left, and you're talking to them at the same time. So it's a shorthand and its own language.
I would sort of compare it to being like at a concert, you're watching a great band, and there's the guy drumming and he's communicating, even though maybe they don't even see each other. These guys and girls on the line, they all have their job, but they have to synchronize what they're doing to make sure that it comes up on the plate. It looks perfect. And then the expediter is the one that makes sure that the plate is garnished just exactly right, and that the right food is going out to the right table. And there's music in the background, and the communication it's our own language of recognizing when the ticket comes in and everybody sees it on their station and they start firing their dish or their portion of the dish, and they're communicating on timing so that the steak's not overcooked and the salmon's not raw. And it's so fun.
I think it's funny because if you ask any cook who's been in the industry for a while, the thing that they hear, the nightmares or the dreams that they hear in their dreams is the ticket printer going off. Like it is okay, it's go time. Like we have to go. Because, I mean, you know, pre-shift and setting up, it's a lot of the music's playing. Everyone's kind of having a good time. And then all of a sudden you hear this do-do-do-do-do. And then all of a sudden everyone's like on their station, ready to go. You know, we've got different components coming from different stations, but they all have to get to that window at the same time. If I have my mashed potatoes up there 5 minutes before I have my steak, the mashed potatoes are people aren't enjoying the food. So it is a constant 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
There's never a quiet moment in a kitchen.
Right.
Somebody's always talking. Somebody's always acknowledging that they heard that. It's a constant back and forth. It's successful because of all the pregame work that you've done.
But even with the speaking, going back to the listening, I mean, if you're not hearing that guy say 30 seconds and communicating back with him, you're ruining that experience, I should say.
Dropping the ball.
You're dropping the ball on that. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of listening that's going on in the kitchen.
And that has to cut through all of the other stuff. How do you train that? How do you teach that component? Is it just you'll figure this out in a couple? You can't just figure this out in a year. You got to figure this out tomorrow or tonight.
Tonight. We're going to figure it out by the next ticket.
Yeah, you got to figure that out now. How do you train cutting through all that noise so you know what to listen for and why that's so critical?
I think at least 60% of my cooks that have worked for me in the years that I've been doing this, all of them after the first night feel like they're getting fired. You know what I mean? Like they just completely failed. Like, I don't even know why I'm here. And I look at them and I say, you did great. It's the key words. Every kitchen has, depending on the dishes and what they're doing, they have key words that like certain stations listen for. Like every cook has their cheats on, you know, what I'm going to listen to and who I'm going to tune out. Like if I'm not dealing with the salad station at all that night, I don't really have to listen to what Susie's saying, but I have to listen to what Tommy's saying over on the steaks, that kind of thing. So I think it's learning to filter what I need to know and what I don't need to know.
I can think of every single year we train the interaction because less is more sometimes.
Less is definitely more.
Less is more sometimes. And that's something I've learned from my husband because I can talk a lot. But every year when we're going through the training, you know, the hope is that we can train the first round of employees that we get so that then they can help us train the next round because we get to sort of gear up to peak season. And then we rock that. And then we look up again at the end of October, right? And then we have to sort of gear back down again. I find it important to listen to what the employee wants. Blake and I have not figured it all out. And we make mistakes all the time. And people might have a new take or a better way, I'm not going to hang my hat on a bad idea. I will certainly, if there's a way to improve this situation, I'm going to listen. He's going to listen. And then maybe it's something that we've experienced in the past and we can say, all right, we'll try that. But I need you now to listen to me and understand that you can't come in from the front of the house and now tell me that your customer's allergic to broccoli and announce it to everybody in the kitchen, because it's not applicable information for everybody. And now you've thrown everybody off. It's part of,
makes total sense.
It's part of knowing the language. It's whose communication is priority in that moment. And it switches and it ebbs and it flows and it changes.
But if a server comes in the kitchen and needs to tell us that there's no broccoli or they're allergic to broccoli, they tell a specific person and that person then transcends it to wherever it needs to go in that scenario.
A lot of people can be told something, but they don't comprehend something. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about like immediate cause and effect in a kitchen. Sometimes less is more. And sometimes the natural consequence just occurs. And then we can say, okay, we're not going to do that again. And this is why.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made us successful is that we are basically a mom and pop restaurant. We can change things on a dime the next day, where corporations can't necessarily do that. They've got to go through, all the steps. So for us, it's been easy to listen to our staff and say, I've been doing this and I think this might be easier. Let's try it and see what happens. If it works, great. We'll switch tomorrow. If it doesn't, we go back to the old way.
You're laughing. Lauren, what are you laughing about?
I think about situations where we've made a lot of mistakes, right? Like we all have different ways that we learn. And in this industry, it's sort of mess it up, make a mistake and don't do that again. And the mistake is the best possible outcome because it just explains why we don't do things that way or we don't do that way. And then we don't have to explain it. We saw why. You see, if we're serving a 20 top, let's say, there's a lot of communication that's going on. The expediter is the one that's putting it all together, sending it out of the kitchen in the right time so that everybody's eating in order, right? Somebody comes in and they think it might be helpful if they just take this or they just do that. That's one of the things that we very delicately have to talk about is helpful isn't always helpful. And we have to have procedures in place so that when we need help, somebody can come in next to me, be successful in that help. It doesn't slow down the process. It enhances the process. We move along. And then inevitably in our industry, that help is going to need to go somewhere else.
So we get into the customer realm. I don't understand how, I'm going to swear, customers are assholes. Some, not all. Some customers are just assholes. And Brett and I tried to break this down and to preface this a little bit. And we came down to kind of two realms. It came down to expectations and a lack of sympathy. I don't know if those two words ring a bell with either one of you two in terms of the customer. And I don't want to just shed the light on the negative customer.
I can give an example too of expectation. Ahead. So we were talking about my grandma she passed a number of years ago, but she had very proper expectations of her restaurant experience, how quickly she would be greeted, how she'd be interacted with and talked to, how much time it took for the drinks to come out, for the food to come out, temperature of the food, flavors, timing of when things came out. Did they ask her if she wanted coffee or not? All these little things. And then she'd go through her little pocket calculator and she would kind of take score and then that would come out in how the tip was given out.
And she did this more than once?
Every night.
That's exhausting.
But knowing that we all, in our own ways, right, have our own expectations and we're all very different when we go into restaurants, how do you manage that from your end, knowing that I may be more laid back, but others may be more stringent and strict and what have you. But yeah, how do you manage that?
What's the name of the show? Or what's the show about? Listening. I mean, I think when they walk in the door, you listen. You see how they interact with the host, whether they're in a hurry or they're here for a special occasion. You know what I mean? And then as they're greeted at the table, the host, will strike up conversation, and you'll notice whether or not they are lively and fun, or if they are just, I'm here with my wife and kids and I just want to get through this dinner. You learn to read the body language and listen to what's going on around them.
Look at you go.
Look at me go. To where you get used to it after doing it. And especially the amount of people that we feed in Door County in a summer, in a season of 4 or 5 months, those servers learn it very quickly. And most people, like Lauren's saying, you can't make everybody happy, but most people that are up here, they're here to enjoy the outdoors. You know what I mean? We're not in the middle of Chicago where I've got a half-hour lunch break, feed me, get me out of here. They're here to enjoy what's going on around them. So, and they're with their family. So for the most part, they're happy.
And trust me, I mean, there are the occasions where something happens and the server comes to me crying, or the hostess comes to me crying, or something like that. And what I get to say to them, I try really hard to just listen and let them vent, because sometimes you just got to get it out. But then we got a job to do. So I always tried to remind them that that is one customer. That's one person. And chances are, if that person is that mean to you, they're that mean to everybody. And that's not about you. That's about them. I hope this comes out the way I mean it. I try really hard to remind myself that when someone behaves in a way that they behave, it's about them. It's not about me. I'm just the receiver of that emotion. The emotion is theirs. The feelings are theirs. I'm just the receiver of that particular emotion at that particular moment. If there's something in there in that interaction to learn from, great, take it, move on to the next thing. But let's focus on the positive aspects. You served X amount of people tonight and you had one crabby customer. Let that one fall off, learn from it, and let's move on and, put one foot in front of the next day and go for it again.
Well, I think Lauren could write a book on slogans or mottos, but her big one, there's times where you just can't make that customer happy, and she'll say, kill them with kindness. Just keep being kind to them, keep being kind to them, and they'll be gone in an hour and a half.
Well, in that way too, as a server, you're doing your best no matter what. You're putting your best out there, and that at the end of the day, you can rest on that. When you guys go out to eat, presuming you actually get a chance to actually go out and eat, what do you put out there? What kind of customers are you? How do you act when you're at a restaurant?
We're probably a complete and total pain in the ass because we are so amicable and we're so easy that it's probably not easy at all for them, because we're just sort of like, food is our entertainment. We go to a restaurant. I try really, really, really hard to pin Blake in the corner, so all he has to do is look at me and the wall behind me, because if he's oriented the other way, his brain is like this, and he's watching and he's evaluating and he's just internalizing.
He's not paying attention
everything.
to you.
And I'm like, hi, it's our anniversary. We're out to dinner. Me. And that's like a totally real thing.
But I think for me, and yeah, she's totally right. I stare at people all day long. I am one of those people. But for me, it's not about judging what they're doing. I mean, everybody judges a little bit, but it's not about judging what they're doing wrong. It's watching what they do, how they interact, and listening to what they're saying, and going back and being like, ooh, what if we tried that? Or, you know what I mean? It's just learning from them as well. I mean, I've been doing this 25 years and I still learn every day. I'm learning from a girl, my wife, sorry, not a girl.
Some chick.
My wife, a prime example.
That's staying in the podcast, by the way. We're not, do not cut that.
When we opened our restaurant, funny little story, when we opened our restaurant, she told me she was going to bring the 3 wine vendors in together at the same time and create this wine list. Like they were going to work together. And I'm looking at her like, you're crazy. They're going to fight over that list, and they won it. And when they came in and did it, and we had a full-on wine list, I could not believe it. So even though I've been doing this for so long, I am still learning by listening at what people do at other restaurants, at what the crazy things she comes up with sometimes. And it's like, I don't think that's going to work. But I've learned to give it a day or two, listen, and then make my decision or, comments.
We're very good at recognizing our weaknesses and the other one's strengths. We have conversations right in front of our team, and we rationalize our way from point A to point B. I think that people see that, and They know that they're in a space where they can make it their own, and we're going to help them be successful. We're all going to learn something along the way.
I mean, I'm still Papa Bear, and she's the nice one. You know, she's the mom.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it goes back to that whole family situation. I don't want to mess with Dad today. He's not in a good mood kind of thing. But
what listening advice would you give to others that may be wanting to get into the industry?
Don't. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
It's a
and
hard
have a great
industry,
day. Thank
yeah.
you, everyone, for joining us on this podcast today.
I think that this industry it's like art. And maybe that's just our perspective, but we eat for fun. And that's our entertainment. We talk about food. We taste elements. That's what we do. For us, we get to put on a show every night. This is fun work. I am not performing brain surgery. What we're doing is important, but nobody's going to die. Let's be honest. Like, what we're doing is social. It's artistic. It's fun. We try to keep that hat on all the time because it can get stressful, but I wouldn't want to do anything else because I get to help people and engage with people, and he gets to be incredibly creative, and I get to stand behind that. What we get to do it's really, really, really fun.
Sounds like it's driven by passion. It's not, oh, this is the business to go into if you want to go and make money. It's no. It's got to be passion number one. That kind of drives you.
For us, because
I don't think everybody can do it. I think you have to have a little bit of crazy in you to want to go into the restaurant industry. But I think I've learned over the years, it's what you make of it, the attitude you take towards it. I think the Food Network, when that came out and Gordon Ramsay with Hell's Kitchen and all that came out, lots of people coming out of high school jumped into the restaurant industry, and the culinary schools, at least one that I went to, talked about you're going to be a chef when you get out of here. You're going to make close to six figures, all these promises. And then you get out in the real world and you start out as a dishwasher. And I've realized, that school I was going to was putting out 30 kids every 6 weeks or something like that. So you got 30 quote unquote chefs going out into the world, and they get through their first 3 months and they're like, this isn't what I thought it was. This isn't what Food Network showed me, kind of thing.
It's powerful to know that we're in charge of our own destiny. If it's not working, we change gears. I remember when we first moved here, Blake was actually cooking for somebody else. He was hired and we were relocated here to fix some restaurants and do some things. And one of our friends said to us, well, you should just go out on your own. And I was like, yeah, that's easy for you to say. You got your trust fund and I got these 3 kids. Like, we got to make a living here. And he's like, no, they're holding him back. You don't know how successful you can be if somebody else is tamping it down all the time. He was like, I've seen what Blake can do. You guys should go do this on your own. And that still wasn't enough to make us go do it on our own.
We got laid off. Let's just be realistic.
Yeah, fired.
We got laid off and we had to do something.
But then we got to stand on our own 2 feet. Then we got to do what he wanted to do, because I can stand behind whatever he puts on the plate. I don't have to buy into it. Then we got to really do what we were passionate about. And the result was positive, both for us, for our relationship, for our pocketbook, and for our family.
What I just listened to when you guys talk about this, there's some words that come to mind. And I just want to run through them real quick. Pride, culture, creativity, listening, attitude, and a little bit of crazy. All of those things come together, create an environment that when the customer enters in to the restaurant and is exposed to it, it's that quick flash of, okay, are they in a hurry or are they ready to sit down for a while? Is this a big family event or is this a couple going out for an anniversary? How do I train my staff to pay attention to that? How do they learn how to do it? And listening to what they have to say and reading them and then transferring that information from that person who's sitting at that chair all the way back to that line in the kitchen and all the way back out to them multiple times through a dinner experience. And to be able to do that well and to have your culture of your restaurant bleed through on everything that happens, that's incredible. It's incredible. You guys should be super proud of what you've done, because everything I just heard, leans me to want to go and be a part of that. And that's you guys. So thank you for being a part of this, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight.
It was great meeting you guys. Thanks for spending time with us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. We were flattered to be asked.
What an incredible episode. So much learning, so much listening involved in restaurants. Brant, what are you walking away with?
Gosh, there's so much to take away. I'm going to start with the back of the house first. When Blake was talking about how they kind of have their own language back there, where it's, kind of led by the chef, but it's musical, and they're kind of synchronized in how they interact with each other. It's like a learned language in how they listen to each other or don't listen to each other, and how they have to tune into specific people for specific things. I like the comment too of helpful isn't always helpful.
Yeah.
Needing to know the context of what is actually being helpful and what is not. There's a lot to learn in how we listen to each other and interact with each other. That was one takeaway. My other takeaway was from the front of the house. And this is that instant interpretation of the customer and what they might need when they come in. Are they walking in and they're just on vacation and they're relaxed and they just want to sit back and have a meal? Or they got a bunch of kids in tow and they've got to move, they've got places to be, they got to get back out the lake, and listening to what they're portraying to us, maybe even saying to us, and responding to that, making sure that, hey, these people want a relaxed experience. Let's make it a relaxed experience. Or these people are really hungry. They've got a lot to do and they need to be moving on their way and getting out of here. Let's help them move on their way and get out of here and give them a great experience that way. Very different expectations for people walking in, and that ability to listen to what they need and adapt to that to give them that experience is a really cool skill set.
Yeah, you're spot on. And we go to a restaurant, we eat, we call it a day, maybe have a cocktail in there. I never really looked at it through their eyes of looking at this way. And what I boiled that down to was this intentionality of paying attention to those little details and how much that does have an impact on your experience. Lauren and Blake obviously do this quite well. So they're tuned into those sorts of things. It's not just another customer for another meal and another drink and rinse, wash, repeat. At the surface level, yeah, sure. But no, when you boil it down to that specific experience and why they set themselves apart from other places is because of that intentionality. And I think what coincides with that hand in hand is the culture. They talk about the staffing and getting the right people in the right positions and what they teach them how to do it. And how it all comes down to really a component of listening. And then she said something about the customer is not always right, but we don't say no.
Yeah.
We figure out how to get to yes or something to that extent.
Yeah.
And that right there, I think that's different. You can see how they're achieving their goals of what they want to do in their business because of some of those things, and how they teach folks that it's not, no, we can't do that. It's let's figure out what we can do.
Yeah.
Because there are some things that we can't do.
Yep.
We can't take those onions out of that pre-made thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm not just going to tell you, no, we're going to work together to get to yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge piece to it. So those are my two big takeaways.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to the intentionality in the culture that they set there with their staff.
Absolutely. Great to meet them. And thanks for bringing them in.
My pleasure.
A special thanks to our guests today, Lauren and Blake from the Fireside Restaurant in Door County, Wisconsin.
Thank you, Lauren and Blake. In the description of this podcast, you will find more information about them and this topic, and a list of any of the sources that we used.
This podcast is created and produced by Drew Richmond and Brant Christofferson, editing by me, and the I'm Listening theme music by Drew.
That's me.
That's you.
Brant, I will talk to you later, my friend.
We'll see you next time.
Yeehaw.
Have a good one, Drew.
Bye, Brant. Now, we need to do a little YouTube thing.
Oh, yeah. Hello, YouTubes.
This is new. We We weren't doing nothing over the last 6 months, folks, since season 4 and the kickoff of season 5. We were working on the tubes, the YouTube, your tubes. Is that how it is? It's you on the YouTube. No, that's gross.
Tied my tubes?
No, stop that. That's disgusting. We're on YouTube.
Yeah, we've been on YouTube all along. We are now dabbling with posting videos? ?
Yeah, some additional content. So go to YouTube, in the search bar, find I'm_listening podcast. Find it with our logo and make sure you click on it and subscribe. We would love to get subscribers. And then one of the only podcasts in the world that's dedicated to the skill of listening can continue to rise up in its popularity, because we believe that if everybody listened just a little bit more, the world would be a better place. Find us, I'm_listening podcast. Click on it and subscribe.